Hello, everyone. My name is Moshe Naveh from the SAP Community team. Welcome to today's SAP Community Call about SAP Low-Code, No-Code strategy overview. Please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A tab. And I'll now hand it over to Eric Solberg, who's a product manager for SAP Extension Suite.
Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining our presentation today. We're really excited to give you this overview of SAP's development tools and our unique strategy for low-code and no-code application development and process automation, and how this strategy is really going to boost your development agility and help you achieve enterprise resilience. So I'm quickly going to cover our overall strategy and how that fits into some of the existing tool capabilities. We'll also talk about our process automation suite and our Appgyver no-code application development environment, and finally we'll do a demo of that. You'll probably be very interested in seeing what you can do with that tool. We'll be showing that. And there should be some time at the end for Q&A as well. If you have questions in the meantime, go ahead and post them. We'll either try to answer them as we go along, or worst case, we can wait till the end. So yeah, so why are we doing this? What problems are we trying to solve? Well, one thing that I think all of us have learned in the last year with the COVID pandemic is that business requirements are constantly changing and evolving. And while thankfully we're kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel on the pandemic, although there's still lots of progress to be made on that front, but we're the world is starting to emerge from that. But we don't know what the next disruption will be. I think we've learned definitely that we need to be prepared for that. One of the statistics that Deloitte found was that 59% of enterprises were expecting to exceed their cloud usage plans due to COVID. So definitely we've learned the real hard lessons about agility, and some have been more agile than others and moved ahead, and we definitely see the challenge there. But at the same time, we have limited resources, and skilled developers are still scarce. So companies are under increasing pressure to deliver more with less. One data point from McKinsey is that a full 77%, so more than three-fourths of companies see this tech talent gap as a major handicap for their digitalization or their transformation initiatives. And the reality is that IT landscapes aren't getting less complex; they're getting more complex with between cloud and multi-cloud and on-premise and hybrid cloud. Companies need to leverage their existing investments, but they have to be able to move forward the challenge as well. And most large companies are, on average, maintaining more than about 130 different applications, which has grown about 68% since 2015, and we don't see any end in sight to the growth of that. So there's definitely a need to be more agile, and companies are trying to figure out how to achieve that. So the application development is evolving, and low code and no code application development and process development, process automation, are seen as key enablers to achieve this accelerated development. And so here's a couple interesting data points from Gartner that bears that out. They predict that by 2023, over 50% of enterprises will adopt a low-code application platform, or LCAP in Gartner's terminology, as one of their strategic platforms. So this is going to have a big impact. Again, another Gartner prediction is that by 2024, fully 65% of development is expected to be done on one of these low-code or no-code platforms. Now, whether or not that number is completely accurate, if it's a little bit more, a little bit less, it's still going to be a significant amount of application development done differently than it is today. The challenge is getting the right balance, though, between the different types of developer tools and the different types of developer personas, or the different people and the skills that they brings. Now, professional developer tools, these general purpose developer tools that have the full flexibility to build anything you want, you just have to write all the code. This flexibility comes at the cost of productivity and even just mere accessibility for people who aren't trained professional developers. You can simplify things, though, and on the other end of that, if you reduce the features too much, you do reduce complexity in that. But then the use cases can become too limited, which again, reduces productivity. So we want to really focus on optimizing that combination of flexibility and productivity. And part of the answer is to not try to do that with one single tool, but to have a set of tools that can address the different developer personas and that are optimized for those developers. But at the same time, then you don't want the overhead of multiple technology stacks. And that's one of the things that we've heard from a lot of our customers today, is that if you do this with one technology stack for no code and then one technology stack in IT for the professional code, it ends up being very difficult to scale that out and to support it. And what happens, one customer described it as the graveyard of applications. The businesses would use their no-code tools to build applications, but eventually maybe an application becomes complex enough that they want to hand it over to IT, or just somebody leaves the company and they need someone to take over an application that's being now used by a lot of the people in the company. And if IT doesn't have the background to the capabilities to manage the applications on this other platform, these applications just disappear because no one is supporting them. So you want to optimize the flexibility and productivity for the personas and for the type of applications that you're building, and you want to be able to do that on one platform, so it's scalable, maintainable, and you can have that balance between IT and the business in doing that. And of course, SAP today, in our portfolio and our development tools on the business technology platform, we have a number of powerful and well-regarded development tools. So everything from cloud workflow and robotic process automation to things like our cloud application programming model. We have SDKs, we have a cloud SDK, we have mobile SDKs. There's Fiori and UI5. We have our conversational AI chatbot builder. So all of these really useful tools that are well regarded in the industry. But up until now, we've really focused on the professional developer. Now, it's not that there aren't low code and no code tools in this tool bag. We have things that have drag and drop user interfaces. We have visual workflow. There's even things like Fiori Elements where you can create a fully functional app without writing code. But ultimately, it still today takes the skills of a professional developer to create a fully operational, full stack application with these tools and get them into production. And this can sometimes lead to those problems of long implementation cycles, and not all of these tools really have the same developer experience. So SAP's vision is for a fully unified developer experience that supports both the no-code and low-code application development and process automation, while it also enables professional IT developers to participate and contribute where they are needed as well. And so this diagram here kind of illustrates the vision of how we want to achieve these strategic objectives. So each tool will have simple guided access to the APIs and events that are relative to the entities and to the applications that they want to extend in the selected business process. So in order to make this seamless, we're also unifying the user experience for our applications. So we're investing in order to make our digital workplace portal, which is SAP WorkZone, work seamlessly and tightly integrated with, for example, the Fiori Launchpad for both mobile and web access. So you start with the core business processes shown on the upper left here that run your enterprise, many of them on SAP, but some of them even on third party, and unify that user engagement where where that gives users, one pane of glass to all of the applications, the tasks, the notifications, and the guided experiences that they need in the day-to-day execution of their job. But within this new unified user experiences, end users and citizen developers, so the users of the applications, will be able to switch into development mode directly from within the application that they want to extend. This is going to transfer the relevant application context into the developer experience. So where the user can then leverage, things like wizards and other pre-built content to really quickly create whatever extension it is that they're trying to build, whether it's for themselves or for their team or for their business, right? So this new developer experience will then leverage the tools that we have today that I've already talked about on the previous slide, but we're unifying those tools into two key areas: low code, no code application development and process automation. So on the process automation side, we're unifying our core process automation tools that have come from SAP Workflow Management and SAP Intelligent RPA, or Robotic Process Automation. So these unified tools are highly optimized to address the needs of the citizen automator for simple but powerful task automation and things like cross-line of business workflow. So we're unifying these process automation tools with the low code and no code mobile and web development and modeling tools that we have today in Business Application Studio, or BAS, which focuses on the capabilities required for low code developers. So another one is, you might have heard about Appgyver. So we found that citizen developers aren't going to be productive in a traditional developer IDE. You can try and say, remove features, remove menu items and so forth to try and make the IDE simpler, or you might say dumb it down. But what we found is that even in that, just any environment inside a traditional developer IDE just turns away the business users who aren't comfortable in that experience. So in order to optimize the no-code application developer experience, we acquired the no-code pioneer Appgyver, and their model is you'll never go back to coding, and they've actually succeeded in true enterprise no-code development in a way that really nobody else has matched. So this no-code experience is going to run outside of Business Application Studio, so it's approachable and usable by anybody, not just developers. And of course, the fastest coding is coding that you don't have to write. So we're introducing a new marketplace that is going to be a unified storefront and delivery channel where you can discover the building blocks that your developers can easily compose into solutions. This new marketplace will drive a robust ecosystem of contributors for everything from automation skills that you can invoke to automate tasks, to things like application widgets and even full-blown applications that you can run or extend with your unique requirements. So by building these tools on one platform stack, on one technology stack, they'll enjoy many benefits. One of these is a unified DevOps process. Now, a citizen developer may not even know that they're doing DevOps, but they are. So, and this is just one of the many areas where IT holds the keys to a safe but productive development solution for their business. Through the governance processes supported on the platform, just as an example for DevOps, they can change the default pipelines if required for things like to govern the testing or security scans or any other enterprise aspects that they require, while from the developer's perspective, they're just clicking a button that says deploy. So the consistency and repeatability that this gives you will be enjoyed by every developer automatically. So it's not going to be like this, you get these benefits if you're using this technology stack, but when you're using this other technology stack, you're not going to get these capabilities. So it'll be enjoyed regardless of which tool you use. And there's some other important benefits of unifying this tool stack as well. It ends up not mattering if an application or a process was built by your most basic business user, or your most talented developer, or even which tool they use to build it. One example of the benefits is the full power of SAP's Business Process Intelligence Suite. You'll be able to bring the full power of that Process Intelligence Suite to bear, which will allow you to close the loop and accelerate the process of innovation and transformation with advanced process mining, simulation, monitoring, and deep process analysis, including some powerful new data mining, process mining capabilities that we have gotten through the acquisition of a vendor, Signavio. So to execute on this vision on the process management side, we are bringing our process management and digital process automation capabilities together into a fully integrated citizen development perspective. So this is really where the power of citizen automation will truly come to life. So this unified solution will enable citizen developers to create fully automated workflows for corporate processes, and to automate tasks by replacing repetitive tasks with digital workers using SAP's intelligent robotic process automation. With this unified process automation solutions, developers will be able to achieve instant productivity with a lot of out-of-the-box content and key enabling business services. So users will have access to over 150 pre-built bots available through the SAP Bot Store across 13 lines of businesses and 24 industries, along with more than 20 live process packages providing out-of-the-box extensible workflows for many core business processes. So citizen automators can leverage any of the business services provided by SAP Extension Suite. So things like the SAP Translation Hub or AI-driven recommendation services, data privacy services, and many more out-of-the-box services that from the platform that you'll be easily able to consume even with these citizen automators. So here are just a handful of how customers, a handful of examples of how customers are taking advantage of these tools today. For Danone, a world-leading food company, SAP Workflow Management is helping them transform their capital expenditures or CapEx process to accelerate achievement of their ambitious 2030 environmental goals, which is providing financial and transparency and visibility for over 1,000 employees. In Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, it was about improving operations by increasing efficiency and service quality, maximizing the effectiveness of revenue-generating functions using SAP Intelligent RPA. By reducing the development time frame, Taronga was able to achieve 87% guest satisfaction, while Toyota has achieved 30% faster time to market. Then automating manual steps is giving Zulig Pharma greater than 80% gains in efficiency, while helping Kent and Zurich reduce workload of repetitive tasks by 75%. Some tasks that used to take 25 minutes, for example, are now actually completed in about 30 seconds. So for application development, rather than automation, SAP is focusing on both low-code and no-code application development environments to empower every developer or non-developer to be part of the solution. For low-code application development, we're building on the strengths of our tools that exist today in Business Application Studio. So these tools will maximize speed and agility through accelerated delivery. And this is the reason that even professional developers will often want to use the low-code tools. They might because they're just so much faster and rapid, but then they can always, there's often that last 20% where they can then go in and use the full flexibility of the professional developer tools. This concept we refer to as the developer continuum, and one of our key goals is supporting that full continuum from no code all the way to the professional code. This also allows IT to partner with business, which allows them to help be facilitators in bridging the gap between IT and business, which increases stakeholder engagement and leads to increased adoption. So by providing seamless SAP integration, you'll be able to leverage all of your existing investments and accelerate time to value with pre-built content packages and other SAP accelerators. But on the no-code side, it gets really interesting. So in order to address no-code development and empower citizen developers and and application users, end users, to build the applications they need, SAP recently acquired the no-code pioneer Appgyver. And I already mentioned their catchphrase is, "You will never go back to coding seriously." And I think my colleague, Exceli, will be able to show you just how powerful and yet easy the Appgyver development environment is. And of course, Appgyver features visual drag and drop of both composition for both web and native mobile user interfaces. And Exceli will be demoing this in just a moment, but I did want to point out a few key aspects. One of the capabilities that really sets this apart from other tools is the power and simplicity to visually create virtually any business logic with this unique concept of microflows. And when you do need to do some kind of transformation, say extraction of data from a string or some, things like that, Appgyver provides over 500 built-in formula functions, and these are designed to be very familiar and similar to what a user would be accustomed to working with in, for example, formulas in an Excel spreadsheet. And Appgyver can seamlessly connect to any data. So of course, we've focused on integrating it with SAP, so it's going to easily integrate with your SAP backend systems, but you can easily build apps against any backend with standard REST APIs as well. And Appgyver is multi-channel, so the apps that you can create can run on mobile, running as native mobile with a native mobile experience. It'll run on web, on tablets, you can even run them as desktop applications and even on smart TVs. So very easy multi-channel support from one application definition. So just a quick customer example. DHL used Appgyver to create a Europe-wide trailer transport management and reporting application that seamlessly integrates with their backend systems, and it supports role and region-based access management and is localized into multiple languages. And that's a lot of things to do in one app. That's a true enterprise scale application, but they were able to accomplish that with 0 lines of code. And this is just one of many examples of companies that are already using Appgyver to build these real-world enterprise class applications. At that, I'd like to hand it over to my colleague, who's going to show you put Appgyver through its paces for you.
Thanks, Eric. So, hi everyone. My name is Appgyver, and I'm the head of developer inspiration for Appgyver. And in just a moment, I'll show you what we've been talking about for the past few minutes. So, okay. You should be seeing my desktop now with Appgyver here. I'm just gonna let you know a couple of kind of ground rules what we're looking at here. So this is the Composer Pro application editor main view. And in addition to that, I have the Appgyver preview app on my Android phone, and I'm using this app to mirror it here on the screen so you can see it, but it's running here on my Pixel. So, and the idea here is that whatever we do here in the UI editor is going to be reflected here in the preview app. So this is running React Native and is a native application for most intents and purposes. So we'll be checking in on the preview every now and then. Now, more on the main view, as I said, this is where you end up when you create a new project. And I've created a new project here called Barcodes, since that's something that we're going to be dealing with today. And on the left here, we have the component library. So here we have various different components that you can use in your applications. And we also have a component marketplace where you can find more components. So think of this as a useful starter selection. For example, we can hover over this button component, and then we can simply drag it onto the UI canvas. And let me get rid of zoom window there so I can reach the save button. So here, when we press the save button, and if I now view the preview app, the button is already there, and it's a completely functional and active button. On the right side, we have some context-specific properties for each component. So we have properties and styles, and as you can see, if I change between the different components here, the properties are displayed here. For the headline component and the paragraph component, we can see that there's some static text currently being displayed on them. And for the button, we have some other properties such as the label and disabled and so on. Okay, so now that we have a button, we might want to do something with it. And I said we're going to be using some barcodes. So I'm going to show you how to edit some button logic now. So we'll choose the button, and then let's just make it a bit more descriptive with the label. So let's say it scans a barcode. And barcodes, for anyone wondering, those little things that you find on all the, like any possible product, you have a little barcode telling various systems what it is and so on. So we'll be scanning one in just a moment. Okay, and then here below the UI canvas, you will find this bar. And here it says add logic to button 1. And button 1 is just the name of this button in the current hierarchy. We could change it, but we're happy with it for now. So this layout view shows now that we have a title, paragraph, and a button on the page. And then if we were to click this bar, it opens up the other important part in the editor, which is the logic canvas. And here is where you construct all your application logic. So UI canvas for constructing all the visible elements, components, and so on with the component library. And here we have the logic canvas. I'll just make it a bit more bigger for us. And by default, we see that the logic canvas only contains one event node, which in this case is the component tap event node. So something happens whenever this button is tapped, and currently nothing happens, but we want to change that. On the left here, just as we have the component library for the components, we have a flow function library, and flow functions is how you would specify those microflows Eric mentioned and build all of your logic. And if we start scrolling here down the list, we'll see that there's various different categories of different functions. And one of the things that we can find is this node for scan, QR, and barcode, QR or barcode. And if we just take a hold of it and drag it onto the canvas, then just like with the components, it's now there. And then to connect up our logic flow, what we'll do is you see these connectors on the event and each of the flow functions. So what you do is you connect this with the connector to so now the component tab event is connected to the scan QR/barcode node. And whereas components have their properties displayed on the right side, if we click on this flow function, then it will show us some properties, and in this case, the inputs here for the flow function. And for example, we can see that we can determine the code types to recognize. Well, in this case, we actually want to use a barcode, but this will still work fine for our purposes here. And then we can define some things as the cancel button label and so on. But I'll just show you very quickly how this works right now. The only logic we have connected is the component tab to the scan QR barcode, and then we'll just go ahead and save. And then I'll show you my phone. And now I'll open up so clicking let me show you that another time. So now clicking the button opens up the camera for scanning code. And here's my prop for tonight, where we can see that on the other side of this, there will be a barcode. And something that you must know about the Pixel phone is that it's very, very fast. So it's going to just scan the code and then exit the camera when I flip this the code. So yeah, there we go. So the QR code barcode is now being scanned. Now that is all well and good, but we would naturally want to get to the data of the barcode in there. And to get the data, well, we can do a couple of things. We could specify an alert node, and we can drag that here. So an alert is just like in web or any kind of programming, is your kind of alert dialog that just pops up and tells you something. So oh, and here's a convention about Appgyver. So the topmost output, you see this flow function has three output connectors here. The topmost one is usually the optimist case, the thing that we want to happen. So in this case, the top output will mean that we got a barcode scanned and we got some data out of it. And in the case, for example, for this function, this middle one is a case where the user canceled the operation, and then the bottom one is the error case. So something went wrong with scanning the code. For example, the camera for some reason didn't open, or we don't have permission to open the camera or something like that. But for now, we'll just assume things go fine, and we go to alert dialog. And now we would want to display in the alert the barcode that we're scanning of which is a number sequence, which we're going to get by scanning the barcode. And here we can see that just like with the components, the dialog title is this property. And here is an important concept in all of Appgiver across many different features, is this binding icon. So as you can see, I hover over now and it says currently bound to static text. That means that I can make this dialog display some text like this. So now if we would run this logic, it will scan the barcode, and then it will display a dialog with hi there on it. Well, that's not going to benefit us to getting to the barcode data. So what we can do is we can click on the binding icon, and that will open up the binding editor. And this is where you spend a lot of time when you build applications with Appgiver. With the binding editor, we can create connections between components, flow functions, and various bits of data that we have in the application. And in this case, we can see that the alert could be bound to a lot of things. It can be bound to the static values. It can be bound to data and variables. It can be bound to those formulas Eric mentioned earlier. And the thing that we want to bind it this time is output value of another node. So that means that in the current logic chain, I'll just show you once more. So the current logic flow that we have is component tap goes to scan barcode node, and then it goes to alert. So this one refers to the current logic flow in the sense that we can get stuff from those nodes. So if we click this, we see the possible options, and one of them is the scan barcode option. And if we click on that, then we can select the node output, which is the QR or barcode content. And if we save, the dialog title now becomes bound to the output value of this node. So if we save and run this again with our Snickers bar, oh, there we go. The biggest danger is that I forget to maximize the phone preview for you guys. Otherwise, only I see it. So we'll scan the barcode again, and there we go. That's the barcode. And if I look at my Snickers bar here, that does match up. I won't prove it to you, but trust me, that is the same sequence of numbers there. So that's just an example of how can we process data with these logic flows. Now, obviously, this it would be much nicer if we could do something actually cool with our scanned barcode. So we'll get rid of the alert. And then I want to introduce you to something called Open Food Facts API. And Open Food Facts API is just this sort of community project, kind of tells you what it does here. So Open Food Facts gathers information and data on food products from around the world. And it's a community effort, so they they have their community donations and so on. And basically, it's a big database of all kinds of food products. And with one of the options there is to interface with the barcodes there. And if we scroll down, well, we don't want the MongoDB or the CSV export, but live JSON API. Well, this sounds like 2021. And they're very conveniently also giving us kind of a example of how to use this API. So the way you do it is you query this URL, their API URL, and then you can just give a barcode, and then it will give you, if they have it on the database, they will give you lots of information back about that specific barcode. So this seems like something that we can use. So I'll just go ahead and use this. It's copied on my clipboard, and then we can see a bit in Appgyver how to specify this data resource. So I'll minimize the logic canvas here, and then we'll head in here in the top section where we find these different items in the main menu: the launch, team, navigation, data, authorization, and community. Well, this time we want to navigate into the data section here. And the way things work in Appgyver is that to integrate some data, you want to specify a data resource. And specifying a data resource starts by clicking the Add Data Resource button. And then we can specify a type. For now, in this particular version, we have client-side storage and REST API direct integration. And we'll just go ahead and select the REST API direct integration here. And what we need to do for our data resource is basically only a few things. We need to give it a resource ID, and all it has to be is some unique name for the resource. So we'll just call Open Food Facts, since we're unlikely to have another data resource such as that here. And then we want the resource URL. And I'm going to now edit this so that we'll use everything up until the product as the base URL. And then well, actually, let's do it properly. Let's split it from there. So the base URL will be everything up until the V0. So it's API/V0. So it tells us we're using the version 0 of the API. And then we're going to cut away the product and the barcode. And now we're actually ready with the base configuration. And after that, we only need to configure one of the methods here. So we have a couple of different, if you know about REST APIs, you might know that these are REST methods, but that doesn't really matter for this demonstration. We have a couple of different methods such as get collection, get record, create record, and so on. Well, this is really more down to your taste, but we have to configure one of these methods to be able to fetch some data from the API. And I like to think that since we're using one barcode to get one information for a single product, then this is pretty much a get record. So we're going to be getting a single record out of the database. But again, it's more of a taste issue rather than something strict you would have to be aware of. So then we configure, so we did the base configuration, and now we're going to do the get record configuration. And what we see here by default is this placeholder, URL placeholder for an ID, since that is something you would find in a lot of REST APIs. So oftentimes you just give the record ID there. But we are not giving a record ID, we're actually giving a barcode. So we'll get rid of this particular placeholder and replace it with another. So as you can see, it displays the base URL there. And then we just add the rest of the URL that we just copied off the documentation of Open Food Facts. So now the whole URL is again there. So it's API v0/product and then barcode JSON. And what we want to do with this is create a URL placeholder. So it's bit hard to see, but what I'm doing is I'm putting it in curly brackets there. And then what we'll do is we'll create a new placeholder, and then we'll just give it a label. Yeah, there we go. And then barcode, and it's going to be a text value, and it's not going to be static since we're going to get it from the device. And it's not going to be optional since we really don't want to send anything if we don't have a barcode to send. And now we're actually ready to test the API connection. So let's, for example, they have an example product here. So let's actually just copy that, and then we can test it with. So this is just for testing the resource. So we could put any test information here, and we could put the Snickers bar as well here, but we'll just use their testing data. So when we run test, we see that the API replies with the JSON data, and it gives us, like I said, you get a lot of data for a single product. So you get everything from images to nutritional values and everything like that. And now that we've run a successful test here, we can actually press the set schema from response button. And what this does, it basically takes the schema. So all of the structure of the data, the fact that it returned this data structure that has code and then product has all of these sub keys underneath, it will store all of that in Composer, and that will enable us to do some really fast and smart pre-use of the data as we develop the rest of the application. So we'll just go ahead and press the set schema from response button, and we see that it sucks in the whole schema of the data from this resource. And then I'm starting to wrap up, but I just want to show you the whole bit. So one more thing we need to do. When the first time we did it, we used an alert to display the barcode. This time, to send it to the API, we want to actually use a variable. So we'll create a page variable called barcode, and then we're fine with it being just a text. And then we go back to the button canvas, and then we'll set the page variable to the barcode value. And here, this is again a binding for the assigned value. So if we do the same thing as we did with the dialog. So now we are binding it to the output value of another node, and we're going to use the barcode content here. So now the whole logic is that when we tap the button, we scan the barcode, and then we set it to this page variable. That's all that's different from the time before. And then to interface with the data from the API, we only need one more thing. We need a data variable, because the data resources, for a couple of reasons, can't directly communicate with the UI. So we need a data variable, and we can, just as we created the page variable, we can create it from the variables tab. So this just switches between the view and the variables. And here we have the data variable tab, and data variables always target a data resource. This might be a bit difficult concept at first, but once you use the platform, it's really simple. So you have your data resources, and then you create your data variables from those. And helpfully, it only displays us the data resources we can use. So we'll use the Open Food Facts API. And then because we use the get record, we're going to configure it to be a single data record, data variable for a single data record. And now that we also configured in the data resource, the barcode requirement, it's also going to display it here. So we're just going to bind this to the page variable barcode. So now, as you can see, what will happen is that when we scan the barcode, it's going to be put into the page variable. And then by the benefit of that, then the data resource is going to get it from the page variable and will be able to fetch us some data. And for time, I'm going to leave the logic here as it is. There's a lot of optimization for the basic loop we could do lot of tiny adjustments which we could all do for to customize this whole process, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to be happy with that, since that is going to work. And then finally, we'll take this headline component and the content property, again, going to the binding editor, this time knowing that we have a data variable. We can click this open. And as I said, the schema is now saved in Composer, so we can find all of these properties underneath here. And then hopefully I'll be able to find the product name value. And actually, since we used the example that the Open Food Facts gave, it's going to give us a preview of that name. So I'm just going to replace that with product name. And now if we scan the bar again, hopefully I've done everything required for the magic to work. So now we're going to scan the code. And then there we go. It's a Snickers bar 1X, and we can confirm that is indeed the case. It's a single Snickers bar, and I could do this for all of the different properties in the Open Food Facts API. But since we're only doing a quick demo, I hope you're satisfied with getting a name from the API. Yeah, that's all. I think we can go to the Q&A portion now. Thanks.
Fantastic. Maybe I will go ahead and share another slide, and then we can jump into further Q&A. All right, so yeah, hopefully you know, you kind of see where we're going, where we're taking this vision for both low code and no code application and process development. And so we'd be very interested in, you know, how does that vision resonate with you, and what role you see low code, no code playing in your company today, and what are your plans going forward, and what are the main benefits you expect? You know, what do you think, and what do you think see as possible barriers? We'd definitely like to get your input on that. While we start jumping into some questions, I will point out that you can go to appgyver.com and try this out and play with the community version there. Exceli, there is a question here in the Q&A that I wasn't sure of the answer to, so I left that one for you on that. And someone also asked about the debugging. But another thing we will be doing before we jump to the questions is, you know, we'll be doing some early access beta programs for these various automation and programming tools that we've mentioned. So I've got my colleague here, Martin.Grasshoff at martin.grasshoff@sap.com. You can contact Martin, or even if you contacted myself, I'd be able to point you in the right direction as well. So perhaps we can start jumping into some of the questions that haven't been answered yet, Exceli?
Yeah, sure.
So one person said when they visit the Appgiver website, it looks to them like only the enterprise is permitted to create an account. What about hobby developers? So I wasn't sure that one of what we're supporting in terms of the community version there.
Oh, I'm actually, it should be so the sign up should just direct you to this page where you can create an account, and there should be no, I don't know if you're referring to the company field or something like that, but that is actually not mandatory. We only need your email and password to create an account. So no requirement, like, yeah, as long as, yeah, so you should be able to create accounts. So I'm not sure quite what the problem there is.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. So yeah, if you're having difficulty with that, do let us know in the questions, or contact us separately, because yeah, you absolutely should be able to. Next one is, what about you know, so your demo worked great, no demo bugs there. But what if you did have an error? What if you typed something wrong and you had an error in there? What is the debug experience like?
So there's a couple of things. So first of all, and obviously these are kind of emerging patterns in the like rather young low code space. how do you even debug like visual applications? But with what we do have, and something that I didn't show, is that part of the preview app is kind of this ability to connect a debugger onto your application and then be able to view all the variables and various flows and get quite detailed debug information of everything. So there is a debugger, and also that is something that for sure is a thing that we're constantly improving in the product.
Fantastic. And maybe this one I could direct to the facilitator, but I assume you'll be letting everyone know how to get the recorded version of this session.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic. So we will be giving you, sending out a link to that. And last open question is Appgyver open source, and while we have a free community version, it is not open source, correct?
Yeah, no. SAP owns Appgiver, so that's
yeah. Okay. I've addressed all the open questions. If there's any that any other questions or any other follow-up that you'd like.
Good. So it seems like we're done with the questions and answers. I published in the chat the link to the SAP Community Calls page, so feel free to visit there, and shortly in a day or something like that, the recording will be available. I would like to close this great SAP Community Call by thanking to our presenters, and thank you all for attending. Have a great day.